But I wasn't core team material. That's what she said to me. 8 months after I'd given her everything I knew, every contact I'd built, every strategy I'd perfected over 15 years. When I got that email on Tuesday morning, I thought it was a typo, a scheduling mistake. Maybe someone accidentally removed my name from the meeting invitation. I was wrong. The worst part was the slow, dawning realization that I had been living in a fantasy. I believed that loyalty mattered, that experience counted for something, that when you poured your knowledge into someone younger, helped them climb that corporate ladder, they would remember where they came from. I was wrong about that too. My name is Linda. I'm 58 years old, and I've worked in marketing for 32 years. 26 of those years were spent climbing from intern to senior marketing director at Thompson & Associates, a mid-sized firm in Chicago. I survived 3 recessions, 4 company mergers, and countless rounds of layoffs. I built the client portfolio from the ground up. I created the pitch process that became our signature. I was the one they called when a campaign was dying, when a client was walking, when nobody else could save the deal. And then Tom, our CEO, hired his niece. Linda, I have a favor to ask. That's how Tom started the conversation last January. We were in his corner office, overlooking Michigan Avenue. Snow was falling outside, and I remember thinking how peaceful it looked. Emma just finished her MBA, he continued. Top of her class at Northwestern. Brilliant mind for digital strategy. But she's young, you know? Needs someone to show her the ropes. Someone who knows this business inside and out. He smiled at me. That warm, fatherly smile that had convinced me to stay during the 2015 restructuring when headhunters were calling weekly. I immediately thought of you, he said. You're the best mentor this company has. I should have seen it then. The setup. But I was flattered. After years of watching younger employees get promoted over me, being told I was too valuable where I was, this felt like recognition. Like finally, my expertise mattered. I'd be happy to help, I said. Emma started the following Monday. 28 years old, designer suits, perfectly highlighted blonde hair, and that confidence that comes from never having been told no. She had her uncle's blue eyes and his charm. But there was something else there, something I didn't recognize until it was too late. Linda, thank you so much for taking time with me, she said during our first meeting. Her smile was genuine then. Or maybe I just wanted to believe it was. Uncle Tom says you're a legend around here. I want to learn everything. Everything. She wasn't exaggerating. For the first month, I treated her like the daughter I never had. I shared my client contact list, the one I'd built, relationship by relationship over decades. I walked her through every active campaign, explained the psychology behind our pitches, taught her how to read a room, how to pivot when a presentation wasn't landing. Take notes, I told her. These aren't things you learn in business school. She took notes, pages and pages of them. She asked smart questions, stayed late reviewing materials, followed me to client meetings like a shadow. She sent thank you emails after every session. I learned so much today. I'm so grateful. By month 2, she was sitting in on strategy sessions. I made sure she got credit for small wins. Let her present pieces of campaigns to build her confidence. Great insight, Emma. I'd say in meetings, even when the insight had been mine, I wanted her to succeed. I wanted Tom to see that I was a good mentor. By month 3, the thank you emails became less frequent. Emma started speaking up more in meetings, sometimes cutting me off mid-sentence with, "Actually, what we should do is..." The ideas were familiar. They were the ideas I'd shared with her over coffee, in our training sessions, in the notes I'd given her. She's finding her voice. I told my friend Patricia over drinks one Friday. That's what mentorship looks like. Patricia raised an eyebrow over her martini. Linda, are you sure about this? About what? About her. I've seen this before. Young, ambitious, connected to the CEO. You're giving her everything, and she's not even saying thank you anymore. You're being cynical, I said. Emma's a good kid. She's just getting more comfortable. Patricia shook her head. I hope you're right. I wasn't right. Month 4 was when things shifted. Emma started arriving at the office before me, leaving after me. She began scheduling her own client calls, using the relationships I'd introduced her to. When I asked about a campaign she was working on, she'd say, "It's still in development. I'll loop you in when it's ready." But she never did. In month 5, I noticed her desk had changed. The framed photo of her and Tom was now joined by photos from client dinners I hadn't attended, awards I didn't know she'd won. She'd had new business cards printed. Emma Chen, Digital Strategy Director. When did she get promoted? I asked David, my colleague of 12 years. He looked uncomfortable. Last week. Tom announced it in the executive meeting. You weren't there? I wasn't there. I hadn't even known there was an executive meeting. Emma said she needed someone to represent our department, David continued. Since you were handling the Johnson account that Emma had specifically asked to take over, saying she needed senior-level experience. That truth was about to reveal itself in ways I never could have imagined. Month 6 brought the Riverside campaign, a major hotel chain looking to rebrand their entire luxury line. The kind of project that comes along once every few years. The kind that makes careers. Tom called me into his office on a Monday morning. Emma was already there, sitting in the chair I usually occupied. Linda. Great, Tom said. We need your expertise. The Riverside pitch is next month, and it's going to take all hands on deck. I'm ready, I said, still standing because Emma hadn't offered to move. Emma will be leading the pitch, Tom continued. But we need your strategic mind on this. Can you work up a complete campaign strategy? Full presentation deck, media plan, budget breakdown. Emma's got some brilliant digital ideas, but she needs your foundation. Your foundation. Your decades of experience reduced to a foundation for someone else's building. Of course, I said, because that's what you say when you're 58, and you know that being difficult means being disposable. I spent 3 weeks on that strategy. Late nights, early mornings, weekends. I poured everything into it. I interviewed contacts at similar hotel chains, researched travel trends, developed a multi-platform approach that would revolutionize how luxury hospitality marketed to the post-pandemic traveler. I created a presentation deck that was, without arrogance, the best work of my career. Emma asked to review it the Friday before the Monday pitch. Just want to make sure everything flows, she said. You know how these things go. I sent her the complete file, every slide, every note, every piece of research. Saturday morning, she emailed. Looks great. See you Monday. Monday morning, I checked my calendar. The Riverside pitch was scheduled for 10 a.m. Conference room 3. I ironed my navy suit, the one I wore for important presentations. I arrived at 9:45. The conference room was empty. I checked my phone. No messages. No last-minute changes. I walked to Emma's office. Her assistant, a young woman named Kelly, looked up nervously. Is Emma here? I asked. She's in the executive boardroom, Kelly said quietly. The Riverside meeting? My stomach dropped. The meeting is in conference room 3. It got moved, Kelly said, not meeting my eyes. I thought you knew. I didn't know. But I was about to find out why. I walked to the executive boardroom. Through the glass walls, I could see them. Tom, at the head of the table. 3 executives from Riverside. And Emma, standing at the presentation screen, clicking through my slides, my research, my strategy, my career-defining work. She was presenting it as hers. I stood there, frozen, watching her gesture to my data visualizations, explain my consumer psychology insights, walk through my media budget, like she'd spent 3 weeks creating it, instead of 3 minutes reviewing it. Tom was beaming. The Riverside executives were nodding, taking notes, leaning forward in their chairs. Emma's voice carried through the glass. This is the new generation of luxury marketing. This is what Thompson & Associates can do for you. Thompson & Associates. Not Linda Martinez. Not the woman who'd built this company's reputation one successful campaign at a time. I must have made a sound because Kelly appeared beside me. Linda, she whispered, you should go. Why wasn't I invited? My voice didn't sound like mine. Kelly's eyes filled with sympathy. Emma said. She said it was core team only. People who understood the new direction of digital marketing. She paused. She said you wouldn't understand the Gen Z approach. I wouldn't understand. Me, the woman who'd been marketing to Gen Z before Emma was born, the woman who'd adapted to every technological shift, every platform change, every trend for 3 decades. Social media has a way of revealing truths that people try to hide, doesn't it? That afternoon, Emma posted on LinkedIn a photo of her shaking hands with the Riverside executives. The caption read, "Thrilled to announce that Thompson & Associates has landed the Riverside Luxury rebrand. This project represents everything I've been working towards since joining the team. So grateful to my Uncle Tom for believing in my vision. Here's to the next generation of marketing. Number breakthrough. Number digital strategy. Number next gen. The next generation." As if the previous generation had nothing to do with it, the comments rolled in. "Congratulations. Amazing work. You're going places," Tom himself commented. "Proud of you, Emma. This is just the beginning." I sat at my desk, staring at that post, feeling something inside me crack. Not break. Crack. Like ice that's been solid all winter, suddenly feeling the warmth of spring underneath. David appeared at my door. "Linda, I'm so sorry. I didn't know she was going to present my work." I finished. "Take credit for 3 weeks of my labor, exclude me from the most important pitch of the year." She told Tom it was better to have fresh energy in the room, David said, that the clients were looking for innovation, not experience. Innovation, not experience. As if the two couldn't coexist. As if my 3 decades meant nothing compared to her MBA and her last name. "What are you going to do?" David asked. What was I going to do? I was 58 years old. I had a mortgage, retirement to think about, health insurance tied to this job. I had spent 26 years building a career that someone had stolen in 26 minutes. I wasn't going to cry. ATMs don't cry at weddings. And they don't cry in corner offices either. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying every training session, every piece of advice I'd given, every contact I'd shared. How many times had I rushed to help Emma, heart pounding with the urgency of her questions, sending her files before deadlines, introducing her to clients who trusted me? How many times had I been the foundation for someone else's building, watching them put their name on the door while I stayed in the basement? Patricia called at midnight. "I saw the LinkedIn post," she said. "Tell me you're not going to let this go." "What am I supposed to do?" I asked. "She's the CEO's niece. I need this job." "Linda, you don't need anything that costs you this much." But I wasn't sure she was right. Not yet. The next morning, Emma stopped by my office. She was glowing, riding high on her stolen victory. "Linda, thank you so much for your help with Riverside," she said. "Your research really helped me understand the landscape. Your research helped me. Not we did this together. Not I presented your work. Your research helped me." "You're welcome," I said. "Because that's what you say when you're still deciding who you want to be." "Actually," she continued, settling into my guest chair like she owned it, "I'm going to need your help with something else. Tom wants me to pitch for the Morrison account next month. Can you put together some preliminary strategy? Can you work for free so I can take credit again? Can you be the ghost in my machine? Can you pretend you don't matter? I'll see what I can do," I said. She smiled. "Great. Oh, and Linda? Tom mentioned that we're restructuring some roles, making things more efficient. I'll need you to train the new junior associates. Really pass on all that institutional knowledge, you know? Train your replacements. Become obsolete. Disappear. Quietly." "Of course," I said. After she left, I sat in my office for a long time. My walls were covered with awards I'd won, photos from campaigns I'd created, thank you notes from clients I'd saved, 32 years of proof that I mattered. But proof doesn't pay rent when you're laid off. Experience doesn't protect you when the CEO's niece decides you're in her way. I opened my laptop and started looking at the evidence I'd accumulated without even realizing it. 8 months of emails between Emma and me. Every strategy document I'd sent her, every campaign plan with my name in the file properties, time-stamped weeks before her presentations. Every client introduction I'd made, documented in my sent folder, the digital trail of a robbery. That evening, I met Patricia for dinner at our usual place. She took one look at my face and ordered us both a glass of wine. You've decided something, she said. I've decided that I'm tired of being invisible, I said. I've decided that my work matters. That I matter. What are you going to do? I pulled out my phone and showed her the folder I'd created. Months of documentation. Undeniable proof. I'm going to send this to Tom, I said. Everything. Every email. Every file. Every timestamp showing exactly who created what. Patricia's eyes widened. Linda. She's his niece. I know. He might choose her over you. I know that too. I took a sip of wine. But I'd rather be fired for telling the truth than keep my job by living a lie. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. I'm proud of you. I spent that night writing the email. Not angry, not accusatory, just factual. Professional. Here are the documents. Here are the timestamps. Here is what happened. Here is what your niece claimed as her own. Here is the truth. Subject line. Regarding Emma's recent success. I read it 17 times before I had the courage to click send. It was 11:47 p.m. when I finally did. I didn't sleep that night. But this time it wasn't because of anger. It was because I had done something I should have done months ago. I had stood up for myself. Tom's email came at 7:15 a.m. Linda, please come to my office at 9. 9 a.m. felt like an execution time. I wore my grey suit, the one I'd worn to my first interview here 26 years ago. I walked past Emma's office. She was on a call, laughing, confident. Tom's door was closed. His assistant gave me a sympathetic look. Go ahead in, she said quietly. He was standing at his window when I entered, his back to me. The Chicago skyline stretched behind him, cold and impersonal. Linda, sit down. I sat. He turned around, and his face was unreadable. I read your email. All of it. I spent the last 3 hours going through every document you sent. I understand if you... He held up his hand. Let me finish. He sat down heavily. I've known you for 26 years. You've never lied to me. You've never exaggerated. You've never taken credit for anyone else's work. He paused. So when you sent me this, I knew it was true before I even opened the first file. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. I called Emma this morning, he continued. Asked her to walk me through how she developed the Riverside campaign. Step by step. He leaned back in his chair. She couldn't do it. She couldn't explain the research methodology, couldn't cite her sources. Couldn't even remember half the strategic elements when I asked her to elaborate. He picked up a piece of paper from his desk. This is her resignation, which I requested. Effective immediately. I couldn't breathe. Linda, I am so deeply sorry, Tom said, and his voice cracked. I put you in an impossible position. I asked you to mentor my niece, and instead of teaching her integrity, I created a situation where she thought theft was acceptable. That's on me. Tom, no. Let me finish. I'm also sorry that I didn't see it sooner, that I was so blind to what was happening because she's family, that I let her treat you like you were disposable when you're the most valuable person in this company. He stood up and walked around the desk. I'm offering you Emma's position. Digital Strategy Director. 20% raise. Your own team. And I promise you, Linda, I will never again let someone take advantage of your generosity. I should have been happy. This was everything I'd wanted. Recognition, promotion, justice. But sitting there in Tom's office, looking at him trying to fix what he'd let break, I realized something. I didn't want to stay. Tom, I appreciate the offer, I said slowly. I really do. But I need to ask you something. Anything. If I hadn't sent that email, would you have ever known? Would you have ever checked? Or would Emma have kept rising on my work while I trained the next person to replace me? He didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was quiet. I don't know. I want to say yes, but honestly, Linda, I don't know. And that was the truth I needed to hear. Then I'm afraid I have to decline the position, I said, standing up. But I do have a counter-proposal. Tom looked stunned. Name it. I'll stay for 3 months, long enough to properly transition my clients and my projects. In exchange, you'll give me 6 months of severance, full benefits, and a letter of recommendation that reflects my actual contributions to this company. Not as Emma's mentor, not as the foundation, as the architect. Linda, you don't have to leave. Yes, I do, I said. And for the first time in months, I felt certain of something. I've spent 26 years being too valuable to promote but too experienced to let go. I've stayed because I was afraid. Afraid of starting over. Afraid of being too old. Afraid of losing what I'd built. I looked around his office, at the view I'd never quite achieved. But Emma taught me something. These past 8 months, she taught me that if I don't value my own work, nobody else will. She taught me that being needed isn't the same as being valued. She taught me that the person I need to believe in most is myself. Tom was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. You'll have everything you asked for. And Linda, thank you. For your honesty. For your integrity. For being exactly who you've always been. 2 hours later, Emma came to my office. Her eyes were red, her confidence shattered. Linda, please, she said. I can explain. We can work this out. I'll tell Uncle Tom it was a misunderstanding. Emma, stop. My voice was calm, almost kind. You can't work this out. It's already worked out. Without you. You don't understand, she said, and her voice broke. I need this job. I have student loans. I have rent. I have expenses that you thought I would keep covering with my labor. I finished. Responsibilities that you thought you could meet by stealing other people's work. She stared at me, and I saw it clearly now. Not malice, not evil, just entitlement. The belief that her last name and her degree meant she deserved what I'd spent decades earning. I didn't mean for it to happen this way, she whispered. But it did happen, I said, and now you know something that I learned the hard way. Your name might open doors, but it's your character that lets you stay in the room. And Emma, when nobody's looking, when nobody's protecting you, when it's just your work and your integrity on the line, what do you have? She didn't answer. She just turned and walked away. That afternoon, I posted on LinkedIn. Not angry. Not vindictive. Just true. After 26 incredible years at Thompson & Associates, I'm excited to announce that I'm starting a new chapter. I'll be launching my own marketing consultancy, focusing on helping businesses build authentic, sustainable strategies. I'm grateful for every lesson, every challenge, and every person who taught me to value myself as much as I value my work. If you're looking for someone who will treat your brand with the respect and expertise it deserves, let's talk. Number new beginnings. Number marketing consultant. Number authenticity. The responses came within minutes. Former clients, old colleagues, people I'd helped over the years who remembered. 3 job offers arrived before the end of the day. 5 more by the end of the week. Patricia sent me a text. Proud of you. Drinks tonight to celebrate? I replied. Absolutely. But I'm buying. With my own money. That I earned. By myself. She sent back a champagne emoji. 3 months later, I walked out of Thompson & Associates for the last time. My office was empty. My files transferred. My projects carefully handed off to people I trusted. Tom walked me to the elevator. You're sure about this? He asked. I've never been more sure of anything. What if your consultancy doesn't work out? What if you can't find enough clients? I smiled. Tom, I've spent my entire career making other people successful. I think it's time to see what happens when I focus that energy on myself. The elevator doors opened. I stepped inside. Linda, Tom called. For what it's worth, losing you is the biggest mistake this company will make this year. I know, I said, but it's the best decision I'll make. 6 months after leaving Thompson & Associates, my consultancy had 12 clients. 1 year later, I had 23. 2 years later, I had to hire 3 associates to keep up with demand. One afternoon, I got a LinkedIn message from an unexpected source. Kelly, Emma's former assistant. Hi, Linda. I don't know if you remember me, but I wanted to reach out. I'm in a situation similar to the one you were in. I'm working for someone who's taking credit for my ideas, and I don't know what to do. I saw how you handled everything, and I wondered if you had any advice. I scheduled a call with her the next day. We talked for 2 hours. I told her about evidence documentation, about knowing her worth, about the difference between being needed and being valued. At the end of the call, she asked, "Were you scared when you sent that email to Tom?" "Terrified," I said honestly. "But you know what I learned? Being scared of losing something that's destroying you is worse than the fear of starting over. What if I can't do it? What if I'm not strong enough?" "Kelly, you are strong enough." "Do you know how I know?" I paused. "Because you reached out. Because you recognized that you deserve better. That's not weakness. That's wisdom." She was quiet. Then, "Thank you, Linda, for everything you said. And for what you did. It showed people like me that we don't have to accept being invisible." After we hung up, I sat in my home office, looking at the wall where I'd hung my awards and photos, the same ones that used to be in my corporate office. They weren't proof that I'd survived. They were proof that I'd lived. That day marked the end of one life and the beginning of another. The end of being someone's foundation and the beginning of being my own architect. The end of fearing my own value and the beginning of claiming it. People ask me if I'm angry at Emma. If I hate what she did, the truth is, I'm grateful. She taught me what I needed to learn but was afraid to face. That loyalty without respect is just exploitation with better PR. That generosity without boundaries is just self-abandonment with a kind face. That being needed by people who don't value you is the loneliest feeling in the world. And she taught me that I am not too old to start over. I'm not too experienced to be appreciated. I'm not too valuable where I am to become even more valuable somewhere else. Some people are in your life to test you. Emma tested me, and I finally passed. Now, when young professionals reach out asking for mentorship, I say yes, but I also teach them something Emma never learned. I teach them that taking credit for someone else's work doesn't make you successful, it makes you a thief. And thieves always get caught, eventually. The difference is that now I won't be there to be stolen from. I'll be too busy building something that belongs entirely to me. And that, I've learned, is worth more than any title, any promotion, any position at any company. Some people measure success by the doors that open for them. I measure it by the doors I had the courage to close behind me. That Tuesday morning when Emma told me I wasn't core team material, she was right. I was never meant to be part of someone else's core team. I was meant to build my own.